Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Mr. Chris Papin. But before we bring up Chris to the stage, we want to thank one of our amazing sponsors. We want to thank Legacy Navigator. Mr. Jack Brown, his organization, help people get into the franchise business, make great decisions, get funding, create a strategy, and take actionable steps to move towards financial freedom and escape the workplace where they want to not be and want to grow and start their own franchise business. Again, we thank Mr. Jack Brown and Legacy Navigator for sponsoring this episode. Now, here he is. Chris, how you doing today, Chris?
So far, so good. I appreciate you having me.
No problem, my friend. First question, Chris. What does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
All right, I'm going to give you a quick version, then I'll expand. But I think the short of it is do you. From there, everybody kind of has their own brand personality, whether it's in a business sense or a personal sense. Sometimes folks are trying to find that. And when you tell somebody, hey, do you, and they don't maybe know who they are yet, that can be challenging. But that's where I go when authentic hits me first. It's real, it's not polished, it's not social media, it's who I am, good and bad, take it or leave it, and here we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love that. Do you and take me as who I am, the good, the bad, the flawed, all these things, because we're all flawed. We all have challenges. We all have issues. We all have tough days. We all have ups and downs. That's just the whole process and the whole journey of life. So if you want to be an individual that people respect because they know you're going to always be you, just be you and do you, as Chris said, and be authentic, because at the end of the day, that's what truly matters the most. Chris, can you please tell us a little more about yourself, where you're from, your history, and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack in there, but I'm an attorney CPA, work with small businesses, small business owners, and have for the last 20 plus years of my life. I grew up in a household of entrepreneurs. Both mom and dad owned small businesses. When my dad passed, my brother was working in his business and kind of ended up having to take that over. Had enough of a succession plan that ended up successful. But from born and raised in I'm going to claim Oklahoma City just because that is a target for everybody since they won the title recently, but in a suburb thereof. Um, this is kind of who I am. It's what I do. It's what I enjoy. It's what I understand. So, people ask all the time, something to the tune of kind of like, who are you? And to your question about authenticity earlier, this is woven into my DNA. There's a lot of sports and athletics in my background. Obviously, I embrace my family, and they say don't do business with family, but yet I do business with my family. So there's all kinds of fun things that are woven in there, but it's kind of a lifestyle. It's a mindset for me. It's what I find joy in, even on the difficult days that I'm grumpy about going to work. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
No, Chris, I really like how you said that this is who you are. You are an accountant, and and you're a CPA and a lawyer by trade. You love what you do. You love working with small businesses. You love helping small businesses. Your parents were small business owners. Your brother took over when your father unfortunately passed away. I love hearing this because this is the essence of our show, right, Chris? It is
Yeah.
getting the authentic, real, down and dirty version of people's lives that are willing to share to help our global audience move past their challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear what he said? That he knows being an attorney and a CPA. He loves it, even on the days where he's grumpy and doesn't want to go to work. Chris, again, I was telling some of my elders earlier, I work with my producer, Ben, and we have a really great rapport, great show. We're very fortunate, but we shoot on Zoom, and we were having trouble with Zoom earlier today. It was acting up. Don't know why. It was just being a pain in the butt. And we had to cancel or reschedule an interview. We're going to do it later on, probably in a couple of weeks. And we had to do a lot of moving and grooving, shaking. Ben was getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated. But again, not each other, this just the whole platform, right? And again, that's the authentic truth. We both love what we do, but sometimes during work, sometimes, during things that you want to just go as smooth as possible, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't end up going the way that you want it to go. So my question is, Chris, how do you keep a positive mindset about the work you love to do as an attorney and a CPA, even on the days where you might be a little bit grumpy and don't want to go to work?
There's, I think, two key components here. One is by DNA, I'm a coach. I grew up on the soccer fields and I still coach soccer to this day. Anybody that's been involved with athletics, there's a recipe for success, and part of that recipe is failure. Sometimes you take it in the teeth. Sometimes the other team scores on you and you didn't mean for that to happen, but you got to figure it out. And athletes and people that grind get that. So spinning this over into small business owner land, it's the same thing. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes clients are going to be upset. Sometimes you're going to miss a deadline. If you're not focused, you're going to miss things more than others. And I can understand that frustration can build up. But I also think it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You're not going to win every single time you go out on the field, or every single business deal may not work out. Just like you were talking about this morning. Nobody wants to deal with rescheduling. That's probably the worst. But you know what? You get to talk to good people. You get folks that hopefully are cooperative with you and understand, this is part of the deal. Sometimes the tech fails. So that's where I choose to invest my side of things in recognizing I'd rather work with good people that will go through the muck with me, fight to try to overcome. So what if we lose along the way? I'm going to take my teammates through that fight. I'm going to pick my team. I'm going to pick my clients. We're going to do the best we can under the circumstances we have, fully recognizing that life's not all about wins. It's about wins and losses.
Ben is always behind the scenes guy, and he's really great at what he does. He keeps me in check. And what I'm gonna say is he'll probably get mad, but he'll be okay. What I love is when this thing happened with the Zoom, right, Chris? Ben and I got frustrated, but we never panicked. And it was like one missed interview that we have to reschedule. It didn't become 2 or 3. Or the whole day wasn't lost. We were able to work through. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I love what Chris said. You're not going to win every single time. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Again, this will come out later on. First 2 weeks, they're 0-2, right? They're 0-2. You know what I mean? And again, this is because they're going to have the tough games. They're going to have the tough schedule. They're going to have teams coming after them. Why? Because they didn't win last year, but they've been going so many years now. Now look at Philadelphia, 2-0, right? Again, it's the same mentality, but the thing is, Philadelphia has learned how to work through some of their challenges, and they've come together doing well start of the season. Kansas City, great players, great quarterback, great head coach, but again, it's not just about one player or one coach. It's an entire unit, right? An entire effort. And again, it's so funny how I was watching that game and Chris Jones was mouthing off to Jalen Hurts. You didn't even have 100 yards passing. And he's like, dude, we won the game. Shut up. And so again, this comes back to, again, in football, you're judged off the wins. And that's what matters. In life, you're judged off wins, but also the losses, but more importantly, you're judged off how do you handle the losses. Because in football, it's about, in football, you only have 18 weeks to win as much as you can, get to the Super Bowl, and that's how to always make money. But in life, it's not an 18-week season. It is constant growth and evolvement and just evolution. And that's what it should be about at every core. Love this episode, Chris, so far. Chris, can you talk to me about the type of who was a strong customer profile for you? Other than small business owner, we talked about that already. Give us more detail, more depth to what is a nice client for you, because we have a lot of people, right, Chris? We get about $250,000 downloads per month of our show, and it's climbing every day, and we're very grateful in that regard. So a lot of people that listen to the show, 71% are entrepreneurs, 71%. So what is an ideal target client for you?
Plus, we try to focus on service-based businesses. There may be some ancillary things that go with that, but when you think lawyer, doctor, healthcare fields, insurance fields, advertising, there's all kinds of different service-based fundamentals as we go through the conversation. So typically we start there. And then the next layer to that is businesses that are at an inflection point. Sometimes that's startup. More frequently, it's kind of we've grown out of that startup phase and we're maybe into a more mature phase where there's a tax bill that popped up and surprised somebody. Or perhaps we are going from one location to 3 locations and we're working through financing and different hurdles with the banks. So typically that inflection point is the space where folks make the initial phone call, but that's really where we can make the most impact because we represent several hundred businesses each year. I mean, we've done several thousands of things over the years, whereas a business owner is maybe doing that once or twice. So you can pull on our expertise, not just as the attorney that's drafting documents, but in the larger business sense. We can consult through the mindset of that change that is often so hard to navigate your way through. The one that most recently came up to us that I think will resonate with a lot of audience members is you get to a certain point financially and you kind of stagnate. And then how do I get over that hurdle or how do I get off of that plateau? That one's a tough one. And that's not a tax or a law question necessarily. That's more of a collaborative consultation. What's your vision? Where do you want to take this thing? What steps are you taking to improve the business? Because you're the business owner, guys and gals, but you're the business owner. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. So it's conversations like those that we really want to focus in with our clients and try to help them have success. No different than Ben is for you. We try to be the behind the scenes. If you're successful, we're successful.
You know what? I really love this, Chris, because what I'm hearing you talk about is building systems, right? And if you're able to build systems, what happens is you're able to really elevate and you're able to really take your business to the next level. And again, let's talk about that inflection point, right? So one of my good friends who has a podcast made a post that he's made about $7 million off his podcast. And I couldn't be happier for him because it shows to people and me as well, but anybody that really wants to put the work in, right, Chris? If you do the work, if you build the system, that he's got a phenomenal podcast. It trends like #1, #2 on Apple for all podcasts. He's put a lot of time into it, a lot of marketing, a lot of effort. He's put the grind in, and now he has great success with it. I couldn't be happier. But again, you talk about that, you get to that point, right? You need to learn how to build systems. That's exactly what my friend has done with his podcast. That's what we're doing with our podcast. That's what we're doing with our brand overall. But a lot of people, right, Chris, don't understand, or unfortunately don't see the value of taking time to build systems. Please talk about that from your point of view as an attorney and a CPA, how people that are listening all across the globe, that systems are key to go from that inflection point, you're stuck, to that next level.
Yeah, the easiest one here is the good old fashioned question: what happens if you go on vacation for 4 to 8 weeks? And usually that makes most business owners kind of flinch, and they're going, "Oh my gosh, everything would fall apart." And that's a sign that the system is too dependent upon you. Another thing that I like to point out in here, and this fits in, pick your athletic analogy wherever it may be, but you can have the greatest athletes on earth, but if you catch the punt and turn around and run into your own end zone and take a knee, your team's going to lose your damn mind. You kind of got to know where everybody's going, and that's what the system's all about. It orients everybody to say, hey, guess what? This play's going to the right. Unless we make an adjustment on the fly, which is a known quantity as you are at the line making your adjustments, offense or defense, right? But all of that is built on a platform of practice, communication. The team knows the bigger vision. So, directly to your point, businesses need to leverage at a minimum enough of an infrastructure that if the business owner is gone, can the majority of the business, probably a super majority, 60, 70, 80, 90% of the business, can it run on autopilot without you? Now, what that system is, maybe it's AI, maybe it's a CRM, maybe it's just a series of checklists to get things done. That's going to vary industry to industry. But what I see a lot of people do is they use raw natural talent to get it to a certain point and then say, I don't understand why these other guys can't do that too. And I'm like, well, guess what? You're special. And no offense to their employees, but they're not as special as you are. What are you doing to prop them up? What are you doing to put them in the position so we all know that everybody's going to the right? And that's where that system starts. How do you get that communication across? How do you get that vision across? You made the reference earlier to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a very long history right now of being it. And guess what? It doesn't matter in week 2 quite the same as it matters in the playoffs. And they know that. But if anybody's discounting that team right now and not recognizing they're not figuring out different things that they can use to benefit later, you're nuts. And that's what business owners should be doing in building their system.
Chris, I wrote something down and I'm big on this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are the business owner and you can't step away, you don't have a business. You are basically a person that is just like in business. You're not a business individual. Like you're not a business owner, right? Or a business entity. You're just somebody that's operating a business. So you got to go from operator to CEO. And I love this because here's the thing, right, Chris? I can tell you for our company, we've been in business now for 12 years. And for 11 years and 8 months, if I tried to step away from the business, it would literally fold. And the last 4 months, we found somebody that I trust to help us set up systems. What we're using to be like the whole, quote unquote, lead magnet, or the whole quote unquote, thing that brings people in is our podcast. And what we're really focusing on is having our podcast. We've been marketing to increase our reach, our viewership, our downloads, everything. And we're starting to really hit a great stride in that regard. And from there, right, Chris, we're now building systems through our CRM with our awesome CRM partners, CRM Done Better. And what we're doing, Chris, is we're now elevating, like you said, we're doing automation. Yeah. We're doing nurture sequence. We're doing outreach. We have workflow forms. We've got lists. We've got people that are coming to our system through the waitlist form, the whole 9 yards. But what I really want to do, what I really hope that people can figure out how to do, is learn how to build the system for yourself. Because once you do that, once the system is built, then you can go ahead and create for yourself a repeatable, scalable process. But you
Yeah.
have to put the work in to get the results out. So, Chris, here's another question I have. When you think about small to medium-sized business owners that are service-based, or people that are getting like, other types of, trades and things of that nature, or, inflection point, they're kind of stuck, they want to go to the next level. What are some things that you feel people do incorrectly that you try to help them to correct by them hiring you and having you be their attorney and CPA?
All right. So we're going to have a little fun with this one. But
Right?
have you ever met a business owner who knows everything about everything?
Well, people that think they do, yes. People that are really that know it, no. There is no such thing. But people that think they know everything about everything, yep. I used to be that with my old company, and that's how I went bankrupt and broke. So yes, I do know people like that.
So I didn't know that was going to be the answer. Good attorneys are not supposed to ask questions they don't know the answer to, but your answer's spot on. Most think they do, and many do not. And arguably even the best don't. They delegate to different folks in different places. So again, sports analogies come shining through on this. The coach has a job to do. The quarterback has a job to do. The receiver has a job to do. None of those three people can do each other's job at a given point in time. They can't. And that's where I think most business owners fail. They are really good at their trade. Like in my case, I might be the best attorney there is. But if I try to be the attorney and the business owner and the marketing lead and the customer service experience person, like eventually it's not going to work. I've got to focus on what I'm good at, and I got to put other people in charge of the things that they're good at. So when you're scaling, it's hard because the one thing you can control is your expenses. Revenue is a little bit of a wish, if you will. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of marketing. If you do it right, the revenue shows up, but it's an act of faith to some extent. You've got believe in the background. And this is where business owners, I think, will get lost as well. They will have a belief and they will tell me, I'm going to be the next Kevin O'Leary. Guess what? You're not. There's only one. I know that. Statistics are going to play to that. So I'm not saying don't have the belief, don't have the passion or any of that stuff. You've got to have all of those ingredients, but you got to recognize where we started this thing. You are you, and you got to follow your path. And if that is to millions of revenue, awesome. But don't spend like you've got millions in revenue if you don't. And that's a normal thing that people get lost in. Then the last piece that I think is kind of the least common, least talked about. You were kind enough to share your experience and say, "Hey, I've had a failure along the way." But most people don't talk about the failures. So what I experience as an advisor is if I can't disagree with my client or I can't know the whole story, what the heck am I doing representing you? I need to know all the facts, even the ones that are embarrassing or sad or difficult, because I have clients that won't tell me that budget doesn't work for my family. We can't do that. So fast forward, gets 18, 24 months down the road, we don't pay a tax bill. And I'm going, where's the money? Oh, well, we had to use it on A, B, and C. If you'd have said something sooner, we could have adapted. So I think you've got to have that tough realization in yourself to be able to be vulnerable and say the things that frankly suck, but figure out a way to fight your way through whatever that is, or make other sacrifices so that you can navigate that process, because people wait too long. And the common thing I hear is, oh, my professional didn't tell me. And frequently we talk to the professional and they're saying, I tried. Maybe they didn't hear it. Maybe it didn't register. Maybe I was too technical. But oftentimes people try to tell you, but the goals are misaligned. I mean, you played on the offensive side of the ball, right? Could you have played defensive tackle? Probably. But would you have been effective as your teammates? Probably
Nah.
not. So I mean, it's a beautiful example there of you got to know your role and you got to know the space you're in. If you had to, you just stepped in and figured it out, but you didn't have to. So why are we taking on some of these burdens when you've got these professionals around that can help you achieve that goal? That doesn't make sense to me. And I think it boils down to either I don't know, I'm scared to spend the money, or I've never engaged in this environment and I literally want somebody else to lead my business instead of me doing it myself. And if you're the CEO, you got to be the CEO. Even if you don't know what you're doing, go be the CEO and ask for help.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic interview with Chris. Just phenomenal information. And again, please understand, well, that'd be my authentic tip. So Chris, please tell our audience how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, a couple of different ways. LinkedIn, search for my name, Chris, Papin. And I've also got websites. Papinspeaks.com is probably the best path forward there. We've got a lot of support materials for folks, and it'll redirect you to law firm, CPA firm, or anything else that may be of interest.
I love it. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We want to thank our amazing sponsor and partner, Legacy Navigator, owned by Mr. Jack Brown. And the authentic tip of this great interview: in life, when you are starting a business, go and be the CEO. Just like Jack Del Rio told us when we were 22 years old, all of us that were drafted and undrafted rookies by the Jaguars, to be successful in life, be your own CEO. But as Chris said, just because you're a CEO doesn't mean you know everything. Learn how to ask for help. That's the sign of true strength. When you have the courage to ask for help, that's when everything opens up for you and you grow and you thrive and you sustain a phenomenal brand and a fantastic business. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.